Hare Krishna. Welcome back to the live studios here in Radha Lane, ISKCON of Houston, right next to Sri Sri Radha Nilamadhava Temple. Now we want to apologize to everyone out there in cyberspace because we have a problem with the tower that's sending signals to this house, and the contract that the house is on doesn't have enough bandwidth to support, depending on how many people are using the internet in this area. So we're working on it. Please be patient with us. Don't give up on us, and stay tuned. Hare Krishna. Welcome again, and we're well into the 7th chapter of the Bhagavad-gita, where Krishna is actually giving the most confidential knowledge, beginning the confidential knowledge to Arjuna. And we all need to listen up. Okay, here's the Mangalacharana prayers by Srila Prabhupada to Bhagavad-gita as it is. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. I was born in the darkness ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. When will Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada, who was established within this material world the mission to fulfill the desire of Lord Chaitanya, give me shelter under his lotus feet? Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavams Cha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sujivam Sadvetam Sadvadutam Pratijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitams Cha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master, and unto the feet of all Vaishnavas. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of Srila Rupa Goswami, along with his elder brother Sanatan Goswami, as well as Raghunath Das and Raghunath Bhatta, Gopal Bhatta, and Srila Jiva Goswami. I offer my respectful obeisances to Lord Krishna Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, along with Advaita Acharya, Gadadhar, Srivasa, and other associates. I offer my respectful obeisances to Srimati Radharani and Sri Krishna, along with their associates, Sri Lalita and Vishaka. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute. Oh my dear Krishna, ocean of mercy, you are the friend of the distressed and the source of creation. You are the master of the cowherd men and the lover of the gopis, especially Srimati Radharani. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. I offer my respects to Radharani, whose bodily complexion is like molten gold, and who is the queen of Vrindavan. You are the daughter of King Vrishabhanu, and you are very dear to Lord Krishna. Bancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindubhya evacha patitanam pavanibhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. They can fulfill the desires of everyone, just like desire trees, and they are full of compassion for the fallen souls. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda. I offer my obeisances to Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasa, and all others in the line of devotion. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay, Bhagavad-gita, as it is, chapter 7, we just heard about the kinds of people that don't approach Krishna, that don't serve Krishna. And now we're going to hear about those persons, pious persons, who do. Text 16. Chaturvidha bhajante mam janak sukudun orjuna arto jigyasur artharti jnani cha bharatarshava. O best among the Bharats, 4 kinds of pious men begin to render devotional service unto me: the distressed, the desire of wealth, the inquisitive, and he who is searching for knowledge of the Absolute. Purport. Unlike the miscreants, these are adherents of the regulative principles of the scriptures, and they are called sukritina, or those who obey the rules and regulations of scriptures, the moral and social laws, and are more or less devoted to the Supreme Lord. Out of these, there are 4 classes of men: those who are sometimes distressed, those who are in need of money, those who are sometimes inquisitive, and those who are sometimes searching after knowledge of the absolute truth. These persons come to the Supreme Lord for devotional service under different conditions. These are not pure devotees, because they have some aspiration to fulfill in exchange for devotional service. Pure devotional service is without aspiration and without desire for material profit. The Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu defines pure devotion thus: Anya bilashita shunyam jnana karmadyanavritam anukul yuna krishnanu shilanam bhakti uttama. One should render transcendental loving service to the Supreme Lord Krishna favorably and without desire for material profit or gain through fruitive activities or philosophical speculation. That is called pure devotional service. When these 4 kinds of persons come to the Supreme Lord for devotional service and are completely purified by the association of a pure devotee, they also become pure devotees. As far as the miscreants are concerned, for them devotional service is very difficult because their lives are selfish, irregular, and without spiritual goals. But even some of them, by chance, when they come in contact with a pure devotee, also become pure devotees. Those who are always busy with fruitive activities come to the Lord in material distress, and at that time associate with pure devotees and become in their distress devotees of the Lord. Those who are simply frustrated also come sometimes to associate with the pure devotees and become inquisitive to know about God. Similarly, when the dry philosophers are frustrated in every field of knowledge, they sometimes want to learn of God, and they come to the Supreme Lord to render devotional service and thus transcend knowledge of the impersonal Brahman and the localized Paramatma, and come to the personal conception of Godhead by the grace of the Supreme Lord or his pure devotee. On the whole, when the distressed, the inquisitive, the seekers of knowledge, and those who are in need of money are free from all material desires, and when they fully understand that material remuneration has nothing to do with spiritual improvement, they become pure devotees. As long as such a purified stage is not attained, devotees in transcendental service to the Lord are tainted with fruitive activities, the search for mundane knowledge, and so on. So one has to transcend all this before one can come to the stage of pure devotional service. Text 17. Tesham jnani nitya yukta ekabhaktir vishishyate priyo hi jnanino tyartam aham satcham mama priyaha. Of these, the one who is in full knowledge and who is always engaged in pure devotional service is the best, for I am very dear to him, and he is dear to me. Purport. Free from all contaminations of material desires, the distressed, the inquisitive, the penniless, and the seeker after supreme knowledge can all become pure devotees. But out of them, he who is in knowledge of the absolute truth and free from all material desires becomes a really pure devotee of the Lord. And of the four orders, the devotee who is in full knowledge and is at the same time engaged in devotional service is, the Lord says, the best. By searching after knowledge, one realizes that his self is different from his material body. And when further advanced, he comes to the knowledge of impersonal Brahman and Paramatma. When one is fully purified, he realizes that his constitutional position is to be the eternal servant of God. So by association with pure devotees, the inquisitive, the distressed, the seeker after material amelioration, and the man in knowledge all become themselves pure. But in the preparatory stage, the man who is in full knowledge of the Supreme Lord is at the same time executing devotional service. And is at the same time executing devotional service is very dear to the Lord. He who is situated in pure knowledge of the transcendence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is so protected in devotional service that the material contamination cannot touch him. Text 18. Udadak sarva evaite jnani tvatmaeva me matam astitak sahiyuktatma mameva nutamam gatim. All these devotees are undoubtedly magnanimous souls, but he who is situated in knowledge of me, I consider to be just like my own self. Being engaged in my transcendental service, he is sure to attain me, the highest and most perfect goal. Purport. It is not that devotees who are less complete in knowledge are not dear to the Lord. The Lord says that all are magnanimous because anyone who comes to the Lord for any purpose is called a Mahatma, or great soul. The devotees who want some benefit out of devotional service are accepted by the Lord because there is an exchange of affection. Out of affection, they ask the Lord for some material benefit, and when they get it, they become so satisfied that they also advance in devotional service. But the devotee in full knowledge is considered to be very dear to the Lord because his only purpose is to serve the Supreme Lord with love and devotion. Such a devotee cannot live for a second without contacting or serving the Supreme Lord. Similarly, the Supreme Lord is very fond of his devotee and cannot be separated from him. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Lord says, Sadavo Hridayam Mayam Sadhu Nam Hridayam Twaham Madanyat Te Najananti Naham Tebhyo Managapi. The devotees are always in my heart, and I am always in the hearts of the devotees. The devotee does not know anything beyond me, and I also cannot forget the devotee. There is a very intimate relationship between me and the pure devotees. Pure devotees in full knowledge are never out of spiritual touch, and therefore they are very much dear to me. Text 19. Bahunam janmanamante janavam prapadyate vasudevak sarvamiti samahatma sadurlabaha. After many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. Purport. The living entity, while executing devotional service or essential rituals after many, many births, may actually become situated in transcendental pure knowledge that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the ultimate goal of spiritual realization. In the beginning of spiritual realization, while one is trying to give up one's attachment to materialism, there is some leaning towards impersonalism. But when one is further advanced, he can understand that there are activities in the spiritual life, and that these activities constitute devotional service. Realizing this, he becomes attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and surrenders unto Him. At such a time one can understand that Lord Sri Krishna's mercy is everything, that He is the cause of all causes, and that this material manifestation is not independent from Him. He realizes the material world to be a perverted reflection of spiritual variegatedness, and realizes that in everything there is a relationship with the Supreme Lord Krishna. Thus he thinks of everything in relation to Vasudeva, or Sri Krishna. Such a universal vision of Vasudeva precipitates one's full surrender to the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna as the highest goal. Such surrendered great souls are very rare. This verse is very nicely explained in the 3rd chapter of the Shvetashvatara Upanishad. Sahas Rashir Shak Purushak Sahasrak Shak Sahasrapat Sab Bhumim Vishvato Rita Tyadishtad Dashangulam Purusha Evidam Sarvam Yad Bhutam Yachchabhav Yad Bhutam Chayach Bhavyam Utam Ritat Payesho Utam Ritat Basesho Yano Yad Anena Tirotati. Lord Vishnu has thousands of heads, thousands of eyes, and thousands of feet, entirely encompassing the whole universe. He still extends beyond it by 10 fingers' breadth. He is in fact this entire universe. He is all that was and all that will be. He is the Lord of immortality and of all that is nourished by food. In the Chandogya Upanishad it is said, Navai vacho nachuk chakshungsi nashrotrani namanashti sit chakshate prana iti eva chakshato prano yevaitani sarvani bhavanti. In the body of a living being, neither the power to speak, nor the power to see, nor the power to hear, nor the power to think is the prime factor. It is the life air, which is the center of all activities. Similarly, Lord Vasudeva, or the personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, is the prime entity in everything. And because Vasudeva is all-pervading, and everything is Vasudeva, the Lord surrenders in full knowledge. Text 20. Kamais tais dair rityagana prapadyante nyadevata tam niyamamastaya prakritya niyatak swaya. Those whose intelligence has been stolen by material desires surrender unto demigods and follow the particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own natures. Purport. Those who are freed from all material contaminations surrender unto the Supreme Lord and engage in His devotional service. As long as the material contamination is not completely washed off, they are by nature non-devotees. But even those who have material desires and who resort to the Supreme Lord are not so much attracted by external nature because of approaching the right goal. They soon become free from all material lust. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is recommended that whether one is a pure devotee and is free from all material desires, or is full of material desires, or desires liberation from material contamination, he should in all cases surrender to Vasudeva and worship Him. As stated in the Bhagavatam, Akama sarvakamo va moksha kama udaradihi tivrena bhakti yogena yajita purusham param. Less intelligent people who have lost their spiritual sense take shelter of demigods for immediate fulfillment of material desires. Generally, such people do not go to the Supreme Personality of Godhead because they are in the lower modes of nature, ignorance and passion, and therefore worship various demigods. Following the rules and regulations of worship, they are satisfied. The worshippers of demigods are motivated by small desires and do not know how to reach the supreme goal. But a devotee of the Supreme Lord is not misguided, because in Vedic literature there are recommendations for worshipping different gods for different purposes. That is, a diseased man, for example, is recommended to worship the sun. Those who are not devotees of the Lord think that for certain purposes, demigods are better than the Supreme Lord. But a pure devotee knows that the Supreme Lord Krishna is the master of all. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said, Ekale Ishwara Krishna Arda Sabha Bhritya. Only the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is master, and all others are servants. Therefore, a pure devotee never goes to demigods for satisfaction of his material needs. He depends on the Supreme Lord, and the pure devotee is satisfied with whatever he gives. Text 21. Yo yo yam yam tanum bhakta shadayar chitam ichchati tasya tasya chalam shadam tameva vididham yaham. I am in everyone's heart as the super soul. As soon as one desires to worship some demigod, I make his face steady so that he can devote himself to that particular deity. Purport. God has given independence to everyone. Therefore, if a person desires to have material enjoyment and wants very sincerely to have such facilities from the material demigods, the Supreme Lord, as Super Soul in everyone's heart, understands and gives facilities to such persons. As the Supreme Father of all living entities, He does not interfere with their independence, but gives all facilities so that they can fulfill their material desires. Some may ask why the all-powerful God gives facilities to the living entities for enjoying this material world, and so lets them fall into the trap of the illusory energy. The answer is that if the Supreme Lord as Super Soul does not give such facilities, then there is no meaning to independence. Therefore, He gives everyone full independence, whatever one likes. But His ultimate instruction we find in the Bhagavad-gita. One should give up all other engagements and fully surrender unto Him. That will make man happy. Both the living entity and the demigods are subordinate to the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, the living entity cannot worship the demigod by his own desire, nor can the demigod bestow any benediction without the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Generally, persons who are distressed in the material world go to the demigods, as they are advised in the Vedic literature. A person wanting some particular thing may worship such and such a demigod. For example, a diseased person is recommended to worship the sun god. A person wanting education may worship the goddess of learning, Saraswati. And a person wanting a beautiful wife may worship the goddess Uma, the wife of Lord Shiva. In this way, there are recommendations in the Shastras, Vedic scriptures, for different modes of worship of different demigods. And because a particular living entity wants to enjoy a particular material facility, the Lord inspires him with a strong desire to achieve that benediction from that particular demigod, and so he successfully receives the benediction. The particular mode of the devotional attitude of the living entity toward a particular type of demigod is also arranged by the Supreme Lord. The demigods cannot infuse the living entities with such an affinity, but because He is the Supreme Lord, or the Super Soul, who is present in the hearts of all living entities, Krishna gives impetus to man to worship certain demigods. The demigods are actually different parts of the universal body of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, they have no independence. In the Vedic literature it is stated, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is super soul is also present within the heart of the demigod. Therefore, he arranges through the demigod to fulfill the desire of the living entity. But both the demigod and the living entity are dependent on the supreme will. They are not independent. Text 22. Sattaya shadaya yuktas tasya radhanamihate labate chatatak kaman mayaiva vihitan hitan. Endowed with such a faith, he endeavors to worship a particular demigod and obtains his desires. But in actuality, these benefits are bestowed by me alone. Purport. The demigods cannot award benedictions to their devotees without the permission of the Supreme Lord. The living entity may forget that everything is the property of the Supreme Lord, but the demigods do not forget. So the worship of demigods and achievement of desired results are due not to the demigods, but to the Supreme Personality of Godhead by arrangement. The less intelligent living entity does not know this, and therefore he foolishly goes to the demigods for some benefit. But the pure devotee, when in need of something, prays only to the Supreme Lord. Asking for material benefit, however, is not a sign of a pure devotee. A living entity goes to the demigods usually because he is mad to fulfill his lusts. This happens when something undue is desired by the living entity and the Lord himself does not fulfill the desire. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said that one who worships the Supreme Lord and at the same time desires material enjoyment is contradictory in his desires. Devotional service to the Supreme Lord and the worship of a demigod cannot be on the same platform, because worship of a demigod is material and devotional service to the Supreme Lord is completely spiritual. For the living entity who desires to return to Godhead, material desires are impediments. A pure devotee of the Lord is therefore not awarded the material benefits desired by less intelligent living entities, who therefore prefer to worship demigods of the material world rather than engage in the devotional service of the Supreme Lord. Text 23. Antavat tupalam tesham tadbhavat jalpamedasam devan deva jajo yanti madbhakta yanti mamapi. Men of small knowledge worship the demigods, and their fruits are limited and temporary. Those who worship the demigods go to the planets of the demigods, but my devotees ultimately reach my supreme planet. Purport. Some commentators on the Bhagavad-gita say that one who worships a demigod can reach the Supreme Lord, but here it is clearly stated that the worshippers of demigods go to the different planetary systems where various demigods are situated, just as a worshipper of the sun achieves the sun, or a worshipper of the demigod of the moon achieves the moon. Similarly, if anyone wants to worship a demigod like Indra, he can attain that particular god's planet. It is not that everyone, regardless of whatever demigod is worshipped, will reach the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is denied here, for it is clearly stated that the worshippers of demigods go to different planets in the material world, but the devotee of the Supreme Lord goes directly to the supreme planet of the Personality of Godhead. Here the point may be raised that if the demigods are different parts of the body of the Supreme Lord, then the same end should be achieved by worshipping them. I'll read that again. Here the point may be raised that if the demigods are different parts of the body of the Supreme Lord, then the same end should be achieved by worshipping them. However, worshippers of the demigods are less intelligent because they do not know to what part of the body food must be supplied. Some of them are so foolish that they claim that there are many parts and many ways to supply food. This isn't very sanguine. Can anyone supply food to the body through the ears or eyes? They do not know that these demigods are different parts of the universal body of the Supreme Lord, and in their ignorance, they believe that each and every demigod is a separate god and a competitor of the Supreme Lord. Not only are demigods parts of the Supreme Lord, but ordinary living entities are also. In the Srimad Bhagavatam it is stated that the Brahmanas are the head of the Supreme Lord, the Kshatriyas are his arms, the Vaishyas his waist, the Shudras are his legs, and all serve different functions. Regardless of the situation, if one knows that both the demigods and he himself are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, his knowledge is perfect. But if he does not understand this, he achieves different planets where the demigods reside. This is not the same destination the devotee reaches. The results achieved by the demigods' benedictions are perishable, because within this material world, the planets, the demigods, and their worshippers are all perishable. Therefore, it is clearly stated in this verse that all results achieved by worshipping demigods are perishable, and therefore such worship is performed by the less intelligent living entity. Because the pure devotee engaged in Krishna consciousness in devotional service of the Supreme Lord achieves eternal blissful existence that is full of knowledge, his achievements and those of the common worshipper of the demigods are different. The Supreme Lord is unlimited. His favor is unlimited. His mercy is unlimited. Therefore, the mercy of the Supreme Lord upon his pure devotees is unlimited. 24. Avyaktam vyaktimapanam manyante mam abudeyaha param bhavamajananto mamavyayamanutamam. Unintelligent men who do not know me perfectly think that I, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, was impersonal before and have now assumed this personality. Due to their small knowledge, they do not know my higher nature, which is changeless, imperishable, and supreme. Purport. Those who are worshippers of demigods have been described as less intelligent persons. And here, the impersonalists are similarly described. Lord Krishna in his personal form is here speaking before Arjuna, and still, due to ignorance, impersonalists argue that the Supreme Lord ultimately has no form. Yamunacharya, a great devotee of the Lord, in the disciplic succession of Ramanujacharya, has written a very appropriate verse in this connection. He says, Tvam Srila Rupa Charitai Parama Prakrishtai Satvena Satvikataya Pralabaishcha Shastrahi Prakyata Daiva Paramartha Vidam Mataischa Naivasura Prakitaya Prabhavanti Bodham. My dear Lord, devotees like Vyasadeva and Narada know you to be the personality of Godhead. By understanding different Vedic literatures, one can come to know your characteristics, your form, and your activities, and one can understand that you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But those who are in the modes of passion and ignorance, the demons, the non-devotees, cannot understand you. They are unable to understand you. However expert such non-devotees may be in discussing Vedanta and the Upanishads and other Vedic literatures, it is not possible for them to understand the personality of Godhead. In the Brahma Samhita, it is stated that the personality of Godhead cannot be understood simply by study of the Vedanta literature. Only by the mercy of the Supreme Lord can the personality of the Supreme be known. Therefore, in this verse, it is clearly stated that not only are the worshippers of the demigods less intelligent, but those non-devotees who are engaged in Vedanta and speculation on the Vedic literature without any tinge of true Krishna consciousness are also less intelligent. And for them, it is not under the impression, and for them, it is not possible to understand God's personal nature. Persons who are under the impression that the Absolute Truth is impersonal are described as abuddhiya, which means those who do not know the ultimate feature of the Absolute Truth. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is stated that supreme realization begins from the impersonal Brahman and then rises to the localized Supersoul, but the ultimate word is the Absolute Truth. In the Absolute Truth is the personality of Godhead. Modern impersonalists are still less intelligent, for they do not even follow their great predecessor, Shankaracharya, who has specifically stated that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Impersonalists, therefore, not knowing the Supreme Truth, think Krishna to be only the son of Devaki and Vasudeva, or a prince, or a powerful living entity. This is also condemned in the Bhagavad-gita. Avajananti mam mudha manushim tanum ashritam. Only the fools regard me as an ordinary person. The fact is that no one can understand Krishna without rendering devotional service and without developing Krishna consciousness. The Bhagavatam confirms this. Atapi te deva padam puja dvaya prasada lesha nugrahita evahi janati tattvam bhagavan mahimno nachanya eko pichadam bichinban. My Lord, if one is favored by even a slight trace of the mercy of your lotus feet, he can understand the greatness of your personality. But those who speculate to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead are unable to know you, even though they continue to study the Vedas for many years. One cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, or his form, quality, or name, simply by mental speculation or by discussing Vedic literature. One must understand him by devotional service. When one is fully engaged in Krishna consciousness, beginning with chanting the Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, then only can one understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Non-devotee impersonalists think that Krishna has a body made of this material nature, and that all his activities, his form, and everything are Maya. These impersonalists are known as Mayavadis. They do not know the ultimate truth. The 20th verse clearly says, Kamaistaista Rittigyana Prapadyantain Yadevataha. Those who are blinded by lusty desires surrender unto the different demigods. It is accepted that besides the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there are demigods who have their different planets. And the Lord also has a planet. As stated in the 23rd verse, Devan Devo Yajo Yanti Madbhakta Yanti Mam Api. The worshippers of the demigods go to the different planets of the demigods, and those who are devotees of Lord Krishna go to the Krishna Loka planet. Although this is clearly stated, the foolish impersonalists still maintain that the Lord is formless and that these forms are impositions. From the study of the Gita, does it appear that the demigods and their abodes are impersonal? Clearly, neither the demigods nor Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, are impersonal. They are all persons. Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he has his own planet, and the demigods have theirs. Therefore, the monistic contention that ultimate truth is formless and that form is imposed does not hold true. It is clearly stated here that it is not imposed. From the Bhagavad-gita, we can clearly understand that the forms of the demigods and the form of the Supreme Lord are simultaneously existing, and that Lord Krishna is Satchidananda, eternal, blissful knowledge. The Vedic literature confirms that the Supreme Absolute Truth is knowledge and blissful pleasure, Vijnanam, Anandam, Brahma, and that he is the reservoir of unlimited auspicious qualities, Ananta Kalyani Gunatmako Sao. And in the Gita, the Lord says that although he is Aja, unborn, he still appears. These are the facts that we should understand from the Bhagavad-gita. We cannot understand how the Supreme Personality of Godhead can be impersonal. The imposition theory of the impersonalist monist is false as far as the statements of the Gita are concerned. It is clear herein that the Supreme Absolute Truth, Lord Krishna, has both form and personality. Text 25. Naham prakashak sarvasya yogamaya samavritah mutoyam nabijanati lokomam ajamavyayam. I am never manifest to the foolish and intelligent and unintelligent. Let me read that again. I am never manifest to the foolish and unintelligent. That's hurting your back. You need to put a pillow. Take the pillow, put it under your elbow. That's what's causing your back to hurt more, because you're going like this constantly. No, under your elbow. Then maybe put it so you stand up, sit up straight. Put it under your elbow so that you sit up straight, because your elbow doesn't lean you down. There you go. I'm never manifest to the foolish and unintelligent. For them I am covered by my internal potency, and therefore they do not know that I am unborn and infallible. Purport. It may be argued that since Krishna was visible to everyone when he was present on this earth, how can it be said that he is not manifest to everyone? But actually, he was not manifest to everyone. When Krishna was present, there were only a few people who could understand him to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the assembly of Kurus, when Shishupala spoke against Krishna's being elected president of the assembly, Bhishma supported him and proclaimed him to be the Supreme God. Similarly, the Pandavas and a few others knew that he was the Supreme, but not everyone. He was not revealed to the non-devotees and the common man. Therefore, in the Bhagavad-gita, Krishna says that but for his pure devotees, all men considered him to be like themselves. He was manifest only to his devotees as the reservoir of all pleasure. But to others, to unintelligent non-devotees, he was covered by his internal potency. I mean, that's amazing, because the things that Krishna did in front of so many people, you'd think that everyone would be able to accept. But because they're, as it said here, Prabhupada says here, they're envious. That's the next verse. We'll explain this, why we came into this material world. Very interesting how Krishna came and he showed everything, and yet only a few could actually understand who he was. Amazing. What to speak of now? How fortunate we are to be sitting here. Hare Krishna. Okay. In the prayers of Kunti, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is said that the Lord is covered by the curtain of Yogamaya, and thus ordinary people cannot understand him. This Yogamaya curtain is also confirmed in the Ishopanishad, mantra 15, in which the devotee prays, Hiranmayena patrena satyasya pihitam mukham tat tvam pushan apavrinu satyadharmaya drishtaye. O my Lord, you are the maintainer of the entire universe, and devotional service to you is the highest religious principle. Therefore I pray that you will also maintain me. Your transcendental form is covered by the Yogamaya. The Brahmajyoti is the covering of the internal potency. May you kindly remove this glowing effulgence that impedes my seeing your Satchidananda Vigraha, your eternal form of bliss and knowledge. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, in its transcendental form of bliss and knowledge, is covered by the internal potency of the Brahmajyoti, and the less intelligent impersonalists cannot see the Supreme on this account. Also in Srimad Bhagavatam, there is this prayer by Brahma: O Supreme Personality of Godhead, O Super Soul, O Master of all mystery, who can calculate your potency and pastimes in this world? You are always expanding your internal potency, and therefore no one can understand you. Learned scientists and learned scholars can examine the atomic constitution of the material world, or even the planets, but still they are unable to calculate your energy and potency, although you are present before them. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, is not only unborn, but also avyaya, inexhaustible. His eternal form is bliss and knowledge, and his energies are all inexhaustible. Text 26. Vidaham samatitani vartamanani charjana bhavishyani chabhutani mam tu veda nakaschana. O Arjuna, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, I know everything that has happened in the past, all that is happening in the present, and all things that are yet to come. I also know all living entities, but me no one knows. Purport. Here the question of personality and impersonality is clearly stated. If Krishna, the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, were Maya, material, as the impersonalists consider him to be, then like the living entity, he would change his body and forget everything about his past life. Anyone with a material body cannot remember his past life, nor can he foretell his future life, nor can he predict the outcome of his present life. Therefore, he cannot know what is happening in past, present, and future. Unless one is liberated from material contamination, he cannot know past, present, and future. Unlike the ordinary human being, Lord Krishna clearly says that he completely knows what happened in the past, what is happening in the present, and what will happen in the future. In the 4th chapter, we have seen that Lord Krishna remembers instructing Vivaswan, the sun god, millions of years ago. Krishna knows every living entity because he is situated in every living being's heart as the Supersoul. But despite his presence in every living entity as Supersoul, and his presence as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the less intelligent, even if able to realize the impersonal Brahman, cannot realize Sri Krishna as the Supreme Person. He is just like the sun, and Maya is just like a cloud. In the material world, we can see that there is the sun, and that there are clouds, and different stars and planets. The clouds may cover all these in the sky temporarily, but this covering is only apparent to our limited vision. The sun, moon, and stars are not actually covered. Similarly, Maya cannot cover the Supreme Lord. By his internal potency, he is not manifest to the less intelligent class of men. As it is stated in the 3rd verse of this chapter, out of millions and millions of men, some try to become perfect in this human form of life, and out of thousands and thousands of such perfected men, hardly one understand what Lord Krishna is. Even if one is perfected by realization of impersonal Brahman, or localized Paramatma, he cannot possibly understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, without being in Krishna consciousness. Text 27. Ichcha dvesha samutena dvandva mohina bharata sarva bhutani samoham sargayanti padantapa. O scion of Bharata, O conqueror of the foe, all living entities are born into delusion, bewildered by dualities arisen from desire and hate. Purport. The real constitutional position of the living entity is that of subordination to the Supreme Lord, who is pure knowledge. When one is deluded into separation from this pure knowledge, he becomes controlled by the illusory energy and cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The illusory energy is manifested in the duality of desire and hate. Due to desire and hate, the ignorant person wants to become one with the Supreme Lord and envies Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Pure devotees who are not deluded or contaminated by desire and hate can understand that Lord Sri Krishna appears by his internal potencies. But those who are deluded by duality and nations think that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is created by material energies. This is their misfortune. Such deluded persons symptomatically dwell in dualities of dishonor and honor, misery and happiness, woman and man, good and bad, pleasure and pain, and so on, thinking, this is my wife, this is my house, I am the master of this house, I am the husband of this wife. These are the dualities of delusion. Those who are so deluded by dualities are completely foolish and therefore cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Text 28. Yesham twantagatam papam jananam punya karmanam te dvandva moham nirmukta bhajante mam dridavrtaha. Persons who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life, and whose sinful actions are completely eradicated, are freed from the dualities of delusion, and they engage themselves in my service with determination. Purport. Those eligible for elevation to the transcendental position are mentioned in this verse. For those who are sinful, atheistic, foolish, and deceitful, it is very difficult to transcend the duality of desire and hate. Only those who have passed their lives in practicing the regulated principles of religion, who have acted piously, and who have conquered the sinful reactions, can accept devotional service and gradually rise to the pure knowledge of the Personality of Godhead. Then, gradually, they can meditate in trance on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the process of being situated on the spiritual platform. This elevation is possible in Krishna consciousness, in the association of pure devotees. For in the association of great devotees, one can be delivered from delusion. It is stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam that if one actually wants to be liberated, he must render service to the devotees. Mahatsevam dvaram ahur vimukte. But one who associates with materialistic people is on the path leading to the darkest region of existence. Tamodvaram yoshitam sangi sangam. All the devotees of the Lord traverse this earth just to recover the conditioned souls from their delusion. The impersonalists do not know that forgetting their constitutional position as subordinate to the Supreme Lord is the greatest violation of God's law. Unless one is reinstated in his own constitutional position, it is not possible to understand the Supreme Personality or to be fully engaged in his transcendental loving service with determination. Text 29. Jada marana mokshaya mam ashritya yatanti ye te brahma tad vidu kritsnam ajatmam karmachakilam. Intelligent persons who are endeavoring for liberation from old age and death take refuge in me in devotional service. They are actually Brahman because they entirely know everything about transcendental activities. Purport. Birth, death, old age, and diseases affect this material body, but not the spiritual body. There is no birth, death, old age, and disease for the spiritual body. So one who attains a spiritual body becomes one of the associates of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and engages in eternal devotional service, is really liberated. Ahang Brahmasmi, I am spirit. It is said that one should understand that he is Brahman, spirit soul. This Brahman conception of life is also in devotional service, as described in this verse. The pure devotees are transcendentally situated on the Brahman platform, and they know everything about transcendental activities. 4 kinds of impure devotees who engage themselves in the transcendental service of the Lord achieve their respective goals, and by the grace of the Supreme Lord, when they are fully Krishna conscious, they actually enjoy spiritual association with the Supreme Lord. But those who are worshippers of demigods never reach the Supreme Lord in his supreme planet. Even the less intelligent Brahman-realized persons cannot reach the supreme planet of Krishna, known as Goloka Vrindavan. Mam ashritya, only persons who perform activities in Krishna consciousness, mam ashritya, are actually entitled to be called Brahman because they are actually endeavoring to reach the Krishna planet. Such persons have no misgivings about Krishna, and thus they are factually Brahman. Those who are engaged in worshipping the form or archa of the Lord, or who are engaged in meditation on the Lord simply for liberation from material bondage, also know by the grace of the Lord the purports of Brahman, Adibhuta, and so forth, as explained by the Lord in the next chapter. Text 30. Sadibhutadidaivam mam sadijagyam chaye viduhu priyanakale pichamam te vidur yukta chetasaha. Those in full consciousness of me, who know me, the Supreme Lord, to be the governing principle of the material manifestation, of the demigods, and of all methods of sacrifice, can understand and know me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, even at the time of death. Still working okay? Purport. Persons acting in Krishna consciousness are never deviated from the path of entirely understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the transcendental association of Krishna consciousness, one can understand how the Supreme Lord is the governing principle of the material manifestation and even of the demigods. Gradually, by such transcendental association, one becomes convinced of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and at the time of death, such a Krishna conscious person can never forget Krishna. Naturally, he is thus promoted to the planet of the Supreme Lord, Goloka Vrindavan. This 7th chapter particularly explains how one can become a fully Krishna conscious person. The beginning of Krishna consciousness is association of persons who are Krishna conscious. Such association is spiritual and puts one directly in touch with the Supreme Lord. And by His grace, one can understand Krishna to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. At the same time, one can really understand the constitutional position of the living entity and how the living entity forgets Krishna and becomes entangled in material activities. By gradual development of Krishna consciousness in good association, the living entity can understand that due to forgetfulness of Krishna, he has become conditioned by the laws of material nature. He can also understand that this human form of life is an opportunity to regain Krishna consciousness, and that it should be fully realized to attain the causeless mercy of the Supreme Lord. Many subjects have been discussed in this chapter. The man in distress, the inquisitive man, the man in want of material necessities, knowledge of Brahman, knowledge of Paramatma, liberation from birth, death, and diseases, and worship of the Supreme Lord. However, he who is actually elevated in Krishna consciousness does not care for the different processes. He simply directly engages himself in activities of Krishna consciousness and thereby factually attains his constitutional position as an eternal servitor of Lord Krishna. In such a situation, he takes pleasure in hearing and glorifying the Supreme Lord in pure devotional service. He is convinced that by his doing so, all his objectives will be fulfilled. This determined faith is called Dridha Vrata, and it is the beginning of Bhakti Yoga, or transcendental loving service. That is the verdict of all scriptures. This 7th chapter of the Bhagavad-gita is the substance of that conviction. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports to the 7th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad-gita in the matter of knowledge of the Absolute. And it's exactly 7:45. So, we did start a little late today. So I'm asking those out in cyberspace, we changed the system tonight, and I want to know whether it's working for you out there better. So if anyone's still listening after having poor reception for the last 4 days, please let us know now if it's better tonight. Okay, so other than that realization, let's have some reflections. Any points that stuck out during the reading? Any doubts? Any comments? Our local saint just came down from Brahma Jyoti to ask a question. Go ahead.
I had a question on the text.
Yeah, it's a question of the text, on the text. This is a proof of a jnani. He's got a question on the text. Mama Hatam Chadha Mimam Pibra. He's dear to Krishna. And Krishna is dear to him. Go ahead, Sarva.
The last part of the purport of verse 19.
Last part of the purport of verse 19? Okay.
The version of Gita that I have had a different translation.
The version of the Gita that you has a different translation. What version do you have?
Mine too. I was looking at hers to see.
It says the devotee surrenders in full knowledge.
Wait. Let me get to where we are. Because I'm reading off of a device, and I don't exactly know what version it is, because I'm reading it off a device, and this iPad doesn't have the latest version on it. But let me do something.
72, 1986.
Yeah, okay, so I'm going to find out what's going on here. I'm one of the helpers of Trivida, by the way. Because I'm reading everything out loud so much, I find things. And this may be one thing that we have found by your mercy. Okay, we're going to Bhagavad-gita, chapter 7, verse 19, right? And it is the last sentence of the purport.
You read the Lord surrenders in full knowledge, I believe.
I can't hear you. Sorry. I read something slightly different. I may have made a mistake. I'm not above making a mistake. Would you like to come and be the referee? when I read the Chaitanya Charitamrita in the morning.
Can you see it at least 5 years?
You can be our referee. Acute-eared one. Okay, so read what you have. And where is it exactly?
It's the last line of the purport.
Similarly, Lord Vasudeva, or the personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, is the prime entity in everything. And because Vasudeva is all-pervading and everything is Vasudeva, the devotee surrenders in full knowledge. It just means that this needs to be, the Veda base needs to be corrected for this. What I just read to you is also the Veda base, but it's the latest version. It's not. It's 2017 version 2. They're just about ready to come out with 2018, and this is why you brought up a good point, and we will discuss this point for a few minutes. You're bringing up a really good point. Why it is that the books need to be corrected if there are mistakes in them from what Prabhupada originally said. That's the purpose of the editing of the books, to correct things that were in the first editions that weren't what Prabhupada said or weren't stated clearly in the first edit. Prabhupada told us to edit the books for force and clarity. But in this case, we found something here in the Veda base that sometimes when you transfer the software from the version that's in the book to the version that's in the Veda base, things happen. I found, in my reading this last year, I found whole sentences transposed from one purport to another, but they weren't like that in the book. And it was just because of the software, which proves that technology isn't perfect. Does that answer the question?
Oh, yeah.
But thanks for picking that up. That's very good. I will send a message to the Veda, although I don't have to because it's already corrected in the Veda base, because I just read from the latest Veda base, and it's corrected.
Is it easier to read from that point of view?
A little bit, because it's like it's a little bit easier. But I can read from this one. Now that you pointed it out, oh sage. Don't let anybody tell you that I'm not submissive to the truth. You got to be submissive to the truth. And part of what being truthful means is when you hear something that's true, you accept it. It's not just, paying your taxes. And of course nowadays, even if you pay your taxes, you might not be truthful, because you may be giving to the wrong person the wrong thing. Anyway, a truthful person always does what he says he's going to do. He's where he's on time to appointments. If he says he's going to do something, he does it. That's part of truthfulness. But real truthfulness means if you hear something that's true, you can accept it, and that's being truthful. Thank you, Sarva. Bhakta John, you always have something.
No, not this time. I was pretty...
You're soaking it in.
Yeah.
You're soaking it in.
Well, I just thought the one was interesting about the different kinds of people and the reasons why they come.
Yes.
I can see myself in some of those.
I was reflecting, when I read it, I reflected on the fact that all of them are magnanimous souls. These 4 people are Kanishta. They're neophytes.
Right.
And in the Bhagavatam, they're called Prakrita Bhakta. Prakrita means material.
Right.
So they're not actually pure devotees. They're not actually devotees, but they are considered to be devotees. Therefore, they're called Prakrita Bhaktas.
Right.
So that the pure devotees will associate with them, or bring them into their association and keep them in their association. And then, in the association of pure devotees, they also become pure devotees.
Yeah, it's
That's
like
the
a
way.
process.
That's the way it works. That's the way it works.
You don't have to be a pure devotee walking on air yet when you first come in the door.
Well, one thing that Prabhupada said. No, that's right. That's right. But even the pure devotee, I mean, Yudhishthir was his chariot traveled on the air. His chariot didn't go on the ground. Because he's never told a lie in his life. Yudhishthir, he was fathered by Yamaraj.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. So he was they called him Dharmaraj. He never told a lie in his whole life. Vasudeva was like that. He never told a lie. And therefore, when he promised Kamsa, he would give his sons if he wanted to kill him. And Kamsa accepted. He gave him so much philosophy and he couldn't accept anything. But as soon as he said, okay, I'll give you the child, don't worry. And because he was so known for keeping his word, he was so honest, then Kamsa accepted. So I was going to say something about that. So sometimes devotees who are neophytes malign or criticize the Prakrita Bhaktas or the Kanishtas as being less advanced than the Madhyams. Of course, these people are probably less than Kanishtas when they do that, but because, a Madhyam doesn't criticize other devotees. He makes friends with other devotees. But anyway, but actually compared to the general mass of people, the Kanishta Adhikari is elevated. And that's why Krishna says, Udarak sarva evaite, jnani twat maiva me matam. All of these souls are magnanimous. Udara means elevated or magnanimous. So even a person who has these material desires, and is not completely pure, they are more elevated than most people and should be given respect. And not only that, but when Prabhupada was asked this question in the beginning, how many pure devotees are there on the earth? First of all, they said, is there anyone else but you that is pure? And he says, Prabhupada, of course not. I'm not the only one who's pure. And then he says, how many are there? And then his secretary was sitting next to him. He said, how many now we are initiated? And then he said 75 or something like that. And Prabhupada turned to the whoever was asking the question. There are at least 75 pure devotees. So what he meant was that if a person comes to Krishna consciousness without ulterior motives, if he doesn't come to the movement thinking that he's going to get something from it, he may not be pure, he may be just inquisitive, he may be, in need money, not in a good situation, needs shelter, or something like that. But if he comes without ulterior motive, then he's considered to be a pure devotee. And therefore, the jnani, or the person who is actually in search of the truth, he's considered to be the best among the magnanimous.
I'm sure your situation, as you grow, will advance also. You might come for the food, and then end
Exactly.
up, finding something else.
No, but you might be a pure. You might be. Some people in the material world already, they're already advanced from previous lifetimes, and when they taste the food, that's it. They become devotees on the spot. That's an elevated position, because some people will eat the food and just keep coming back for the food and never do anything else. They're just lusty for tasty food. But still, they get. This is Krishna's magnanimity. This is Krishna's magnanimity. Because anyone who comes and does anything in this movement, they get something. They get something. They get a taste. If they're honest, these are the two things that are required: honesty and to a certain degree, freedom from envy. If you're an envious person, it's very difficult to take to Krishna consciousness. Because, an envious person, when they see somebody doing well, they feel bad.
Jealous of it.
Yeah, jealous person.
But Putana came to kill Krishna.
When Putana came to kill Krishna,
And she got liberated.
and she got liberated, then
You were saying
I was saying,
that if you, well, she wanted to kill him,
he wanted to kill Krishna.
and she still got liberated. You said everyone gets something.
Well, the thing is, when you deal directly with Krishna, then you're in a very special position, no matter who you are. You have to be a really special demon to get killed by Krishna. And the other thing is that because she gave her breast to Krishna, and because Krishna, he's magnanimous beyond what we can imagine. And he thought, oh, she's my mother, she gave me her breast to suck, so I got to give her a position in the spiritual world as a wet nurse.
It's kind of similar to how Goddess Saraswati, when she comes with, even if someone says something bad, she turns if they're saying something bad on Krishna, she would transform it to a nice prayer and come to Krishna with it.
Yeah. The person who's under the influence of Saraswati fixes it. Yeah, that's right. Anyway, only Krishna does that. That's another thing to consider. Even the incarnations of Krishna or the expansions of Krishna, they don't do that. They don't give the person they kill a position in the spiritual world close to him. Only Krishna does that. So this is Leela. This is Leela. This is not under the same laws of nature. Yoga Maya is in charge of those laws, and she can do anything because Krishna gives her permission to do those kinds of things.
Doesn't it say somewhere, I don't know if I read in one of the books or if I read it in this, where there's no loss in Krishna? Whatever,
Yes.
Whatever you try to do.
Nainam, what is that verse? Neha vidyamana, nitya. What's the first part? Neha bhikkamanashosti pratyavayo navidyate swalpam apyasa dharmasya trayate mahato bayat. There's never any loss or diminution. Whatever you've done in Krishna consciousness, even a little bit, it becomes your permanent asset. It's never taken away completely. Even if you make a mistake and you fall away and it appears like you've lost it, still in your heart there's that benefit. And then next time you get an opportunity, either in this life or in the next life, then you start from where you left off. It's like a permanent bank account. Yes, Sarva. There's one purport in which Prabhupada said that people sometimes think of the body of the demigods being like the body of the Lord. Yes, serving the hand rather than the mouth.
My question would be that if the hand gives the food to the
Question is, if the hand gives the food to the mouth,
if the demigod serves Krishna,
if the demigod serves Krishna,
by serving demigod ones gradually get faith in.
yes, that serving the demigod one gradually gets faith. Now the point about that is, and Prabhupada explains this, sometimes persons who are raised in Christianity, they think that Christianity is better than demigod worship, and therefore that the Bible is better than the Vedas. Some people think like that. But Prabhupada said no, because when you perform the Vedic rituals and you appear to be worshipping the demigods, first of all, you get accustomed to accepting authority in the line back to Vishnu. Because ultimately, in all the Vedic hymns and in the sacrifices, it's Vishnu who's being worshipped. And the demigods get the share of the sacrifice for Vishnu. Yagyartat kamanonyatra lokoyam kamavandana. That's in the 3rd chapter of the Gita. Work has to be performed for Vishnu, sacrifice for Vishnu. So demigod worship is actually, you may worship the demigod. We heard this in this verse, Kamastaita ritigyana prabhajantena devata. Less intelligent persons worship the demigods. Because even if they worship the demigod for a good wife or good health or whatever, it's Krishna who gives them the power to do that. They can't do that independently of Krishna. But because they're connected with Krishna in that way, and because you are accepting them as an authority, then you learn to be receptive to authority or submissive to authority. And that by that process, you gradually comes to Vishnu worship eventually. Eventually. But it's less intelligent those who worship the demigods as the supreme. Then they'll go to the planet of demigods, as we already heard. Yanti Deva Vrata Deva and Pitrin Yanti Prativita. But still, a person who's in that system and is in that process is beginning to get faith in authority that connects back to Vishnu. Because eventually the demigods are connected back to Vishnu. That's the demons. That's the difference between the demons and the demigods. Because they, even if they make a mistake and offend Krishna, they will ultimately, surrender. Therefore, we actually respect the demigods as devotees of Krishna. Sometimes the devotees, because it says that only people with less intelligence worship the demigods, then they think, oh, these demigods, and then they offend the demigods. But Rupa Goswami says in the Nectar Devotion, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, in one of the first items of devotional service, one of the first 20 items, one of the do nots, is do not disrespect the demigods. So we shouldn't disrespect anybody, what to speak of the demigods. They're like, we shouldn't disrespect a spider or an ant. When we see them, we should think, oh, Krishna is there, we give them respect.
Before or after the space?
No. Don't spray them with poison, that kind of poison. Just put something there they don't like and they'll go away. That's the, what is it? Permaculture way. We've got all the permaculture people around here. There's a whole bevy of them in the room. Better be careful what I say, because I may not know the right thing.
Bill said there was a spider crawling on you the other day, and he told you there's a spider on you. But, oh, he's okay. We'll let him stay there.
Yeah, of course. He got his part. He's got his little turf.
A brown recluse on your neck or something.
Say that again.
What if you have a brown recluse on your neck? I don't know if you know about those or not.
If a living being attacks you and harms you, then you can eliminate them without sin.
All right. I had anyway. They're brown spiders that'll they'll just rot the flesh off you.
Yeah, yes,
They're pretty bad.
Yeah, you can do an end if they attack you with a deadly weapon,
I'm not going to go out looking for them.
No. If it happens to land on your throat, then you can definitely deal with them.
Okay.
It is good to look out for them.
Yeah.
You're all over the place. I used to run into them at my work also regularly. Not tell the people because I didn't want them freaking out. I think work today.
Yeah. All right, we're going to stop here tonight. Thank you very much. I'm going to start up the reading, by the way, again, the recording, starting on Tuesday. We got some things worked out.
Talking about your...
Yeah, the recording for the Chaitanya, the thing that I've kind of careful to preserve my voice. I'm always careful about it. So it's going to start up Tuesday, so I have to be careful again.
No, just really quickly, there's a question here.
There's a question from the audience.
Terry Biger.
Oh.
That says, what exactly is a demigod?
Terry Biger says, what exactly is a demigod? A demigod is an empowered jiva soul to perform duties in the material world that are superhuman, that an ordinary human being or other living entity can't perform. And among the demigods, there are some who are particularly empowered or particularly powerful, and they become created before the others. There are 10 demigods that get created in the Sarga, in the first creation. And they come into being before Brahma comes into the material world, manifest, and they come out from they're in the blueprint. And then after, when Brahma, he doesn't actually create them exactly, they're already created, but they come out through Brahma's body. And then they become like Indra, Yamaraj, Vayu, Chandra, Surya, what's the one for water? Varuna, the directions, the ones that are in charge of the directions and in charge of the, the production and maintenance of the basic, they become manifest from the mode of goodness in the Sarga. Does that answer the question? They're considered to be like parts of the universal body of the Lord, parts of the external body of the Lord. Didn't respond back yet.
Really sounds like a good answer to me.
There's a delay.
There's a delay.
Yeah.
But we're up and running.
Yes, no problems at all.
Gee, I hope those that got disappointed will come back. All of you that are there, please let everyone else know. Share it. They fixed it. Yay!
Mars fixed it.
Okay. Hare Krishna. Thanks everyone so much. All glories to the Bhagavad-gita as it is. Glories to Srila Prabhupada and glories to his words, which are so potent. They can give us the basics. Just by hearing, we can become educated. Hare Krishna.